So this clip was recently shown to me that I find really poignant and revealing. This is a clip from before Israel disengaged from Gaza. And we have the late Shimon Peres, a hero and founder of the modern state of Israel, but very much on the left of the political divide, who was saying to Netanyahu, who opposed Israel's disengagement from Gaza, but effectively handing it over to the Arabs to run and create their own sort of statelet. It was almost like a mini two-state solution in a sense. It was like a litmus test almost. And he's saying in this, you'll see in this news report, he's saying that Netanyahu's saying that it's going to become an axis of terror and it's going to be a disaster. He's just fear-mongering. It's just scaring the people of Israel, and it's peddling nonsense and shtuyot, as they'll say, and lies and bigotry. I want you to see this for yourself. It's in Hebrew, but I just want you to see the passion with which this was being said, because there are some really important lessons that we must learn from this. Have a watch.
שבוע לפני ביצוע ההתנתקות התפטר בנימין נתניהו מהממשלה. במליאת הכנסת התפתח ויכוח אם יש אמת בטענתו שגם אשקלון עומדת לחטוף חזק.
תשמע ידידי, אתה לא תבהיר את העם לפני שהעם לא מאמין לך. ואני מציע לימין להפסיק עם ההפחדות, עם הבעלות, עם הלגיונות, עם האסונות.
He's saying the people aren't going to listen to your lies and to your hatred and to your, trying to create panic. It's all shtuyot. And meanwhile, literally within moments of Israel departing from Gaza, the territory was taken over by Hamas, democratically, it seems. But even if not, that's what happened. Since then, Israel has faced years of terrorism, of attempts at tunnel building, attempts at, just rockets the whole time. They've had wars every few years. They've lost so many soldiers, and culminating, of course, in October 7th. And I think that if we can't learn a critical lesson from this, then God forbid the same things will reoccur. What is the lesson? There's a fantasy, a desire, a wish, a belief that if Israel just concedes enough, gives enough ground, literally, but also in terms of the demands of the Arabs, then that will somehow create peace. That is the hypothesis of the sort of the peacenik left. And as Dr. Inat Wolf, who I interviewed a month ago, who was very much a part of the Labour Party in Israel, she said, this hypothesis has been proven demonstrably to be false. We may wish it to be the case, but it's been proven to be false, because every time Israel's tried to concede, tried to offer things, whether it's two-state solutions, whether it's giving away Gaza, all they get in response is terrorism, intifada, war, hatred, death cult, and only actually an encouragement of them to want to do more. And it's obvious in a way. If you show weakness and you say, you push me enough, I'll give you away our land and our territory, that's only going to encourage them. The fundamental question is whether the Arab cause is about just a legitimate grievance or whether it's about jihadist hatred that wants to wipe out the Jews. That's what it comes down to. Because if it's a legitimate grievance, then that's how you're going to always frame anything they do. You'll think, oh, they're just aggrieved, it's resistance, all these things, and you need to address their grievance. But if the grievance is just based in hate, then there's nothing you can do other than completely surrender, fall on your sword, for Israel to die. God forbid. So people who think we've just got to keep extending our arm, keep seeing the other, keep trying to understand them, it's not going to work if the root cause of what's motivating them is just simply hatred. Because quite frankly, they've got so much Arab territory, 100 times the size of Israel, that it's frankly farcical to think this is just about they just want their more Arab territory. So people want it to be the case that if we just be a bit nice, if we just be a bit more compassionate, if we just give them a bit more of what they want, then everything will be fine. But the case of history, recent history, culminating in October 7th, shows us extremely clearly that this approach has failed. And more than that, continuing this approach would be a form of insanity, trying the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome to the same outcome you've had over and over again. That's actually becoming dangerous at this point. People that, like it seems Perez did, dabble in a fantasy, in what they wish to be the case rather than what actually is the case. You give Judea and Samaria away to the Arabs, October 7th would pale in comparison, God forbid. But that's what we're talking about. Because the two-state solution is based on a false premise. The premise is they want self-determination. That's not the premise that's true. The truth is they simply cannot make space for any Jewish state. And by the way, it's not just the leaders. This is the majority population view. These are not and this again is not what I think is the case or what I wish is the case. I mean, I wouldn't want it to be the case that most of them don't like Israel, but it's not things I want. This is what the polling tells us. This is what facts on the ground, first-hand witnesses, experience tells us. The polling from Palestine Survey Center, I forgot the name of it, but you can see it on Reuters did a report on this. Every few months they've asked Arabs in Gaza and Judea and Samaria, do you still support October 7th? Most of them say yeah. Yes. So no, land for peace does not work. We've tried it, and it clearly is a failed paradigm. In fact, and it's, as I said before, all it's doing is telling them, you're right. Maybe if you push us enough, we'll give up land. You're right. Maybe this land, we don't really think it's ours. Maybe it's not. They truly believe that they have to be utterly committed to their cause because in their ideological paradigm, they can't have a Jewish state re-established. It's too threatening to their theological and political paradigms about Arab and Islamic supremacy and dominance. So equally, we can't have the approach of, well, we'll just compromise. This was the lesson from World War II. When you're dealing with not a legitimate grievance, but a hateful ideology, like Hitler's, you can't appease. Try and, we'll just give you a bit more of this, a bit more of that. They'll just take more and more and more. And fight more and more and more. The only solution is to shut it down. We've tried it for nearly 100 years, doing two-state solutions, indulging the fantasy that they think that it's really just about self-determination and nation-statehood for the Arabs. It's not. Because if they would have won the war in 48, it would have been part of Syria, and Jordan would have taken a chunk, and Lebanon would have taken a chunk, and Egypt. So it's not about a Palestinian state, is it? But we can't afford to indulge this fantasy anymore. That's the point. Now Israel has to say, you know what, let's actually, seeing as you don't even want this you don't even want your own state, you just hate us, we're actually going to do what international law, what history, and what divine law says, which is that all of this territory, Judea and Samaria and Gaza, is Jewish, belongs to the Jewish people. And we're happy to have non-Jews live in our state, but they've got to be peaceful and accept the legitimacy of the Jewish state. It's not a tall order, it's what any country would expect. So we must learn the lessons of history, and we cannot go back to the same failed paradigms. Because it's not just that it won't be constructive. We now see that indulging in fantasy costs lives.
Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.